We are live. We're live here for our seventh episode of Escorting the Payload, the Overwatch League betting and fantasy podcast here from the Game House. Same two average Joes as always, hosting the show. My name's Connor Knutson, writer here at the Game House, and as always, joined by Robert Haynes, boss man of the Game House. What a week last week, Rob. What a week, dude. Like,
craziness.
how are we supposed to make bets after that?
We don't. I think we just call it in, man.
Yeah, I think it's over.
I think it's time. It's been great, everybody.
Yeah. If you're a viewer out there that bet on Florida and Washington last week, and even Toronto beating Shanghai, if you bet on those three games, call us. And you can just have the show. You can just take it over. We will secede totally, and you can run things. Or just tell us how much money you made. We'd be very interested to know that. I'm sure it's a lot of money. But yeah, so this is going to be kind of like the theme for our episode today. Title of the episode is Betting Amidst Unpredictability, and that is exactly where we're at right now. So last week, if you missed it in the Overwatch League, the bottom two teams in the league beat arguably the two top teams in the league. London and Vancouver both lost to Florida and Washington, respectively. The Defiant beat Shanghai. There were a lot of other just really wacky games last week, so that has thrown the lines for this week totally out of whack. They're much closer. BetDSI's only released odds for the first 2 days, so we didn't even put them on the banner. Just go to the website if you want to check it out. I think they're going to wait to release games for Saturday, Sunday until it gets closer to those days. So,
which is smart.
Yeah. Basically, everyone's confused. And so in the midst of that, how do you bet? We're going to go through a few games and a few just kind of principles that we think are going to help you with that. And we will see from there. Yes. So, very good. I think they should, yeah. So, what is your initial kind of thought, Rob, on how do we handle betting this week?
I think here's something that Connor and I were talking about before we went live, and I think it's an important thing to remember. A lot of those odds were because the odds makers didn't really know what they were doing necessarily, or the odds were just so obviously one way or another that it made it easier for them to make their predictions and whatnot. And now, compared to baseball or football, basketball, soccer, however you or whatever you watch, the odds are starting to get closer and closer to those. You're not going to see as many high level stuff, and I think that's good. I think it's good for the parity of the league. But as somebody who is gambling, it's kind of tough necessarily to do that, and it's going to make it, you're going to have to know your stuff, and that's going to make us more valuable, theoretically.
Yes, that's very true.
Theoretically.
Yeah.
So hopefully we will be able to offer a lot more insight as we're going forward to really give you the best bets that we can with the information that we have available, specifically for the first 2 days normally. I don't know, maybe we start doing a show on Saturday mornings. I mean, if you all ask for it, I am sure that we would be more than willing to comply for half an hour of our Saturday morning. So, I think we just kind of start and break down some of the really important games, Connor.
That's fun.
I don't know if we're going to stick with our system of escorting the actual payload for right now until we get a better idea, because these odds have been very
Payload's off the rails right now. The payload has fallen off the track and is now just currently gone rogue on Junkertown. We don't know where it's at, but I think
Junker Queen took it over.
Exactly. GTA hijacked it. I think one of the things we talked about this pre-show a little bit that I would, if I were a betting person, if I were a betting man, and I was gonna throw down some money on these games, you have to look at consistency. With so many teams, like London Spitfire in Season 1 did this, where they played unpredictably all the time. Philly was the same way. With more and more teams doing that this year, you have to bet on the teams that are more, their brand more and more. And so I've identified 3 teams that I think that it really applies to right now. So the first one I would say would be the San Francisco Shock. This team hasn't played much in Stage 4, admittedly, but when they have played, they've looked really good. They haven't had any slip-ups since, for a while now. And if you're going to bet on a team, I would bet on them. So a great example of what I would consider a point A game, again, we don't know the lines for this, but this would be Sunday's game against the Fuel. The Fuel were my second team on this list because I think they're a very safe bet to bet against. And the third team would be the Uprising, who is another team I think is safe to bet against. So these are the 3 teams I think have been most consistently attached to where their ranking actually is in the standings. Like the Fuel and the Uprising are consistently bad currently, and the Shock are consistently good. So without any spikes that are really significant or any dips for the Shock, like those are the teams I would, if I had to say there was a traditional point A, it would be any game with those 3 teams involved. So one of the ones on Friday that I think is actually a really safe bet, and the odds are not horrible, but not, they're not as bad as they usually are for the favorite team, will be the Gladiators over the Fuel. Gladiators have looked really good, playing extremely well, and the Fuel just haven't been there. So that and the Shock, basically both games against the Fuel would be my point A, I guess. If we had a traditional one, I don't know.
They've looked pretty lost, I guess would be the best word to put on them. Against the Gladiators, I don't really see that. I mean, that is the highest line that we see for a favorite and for an underdog at minus 357 for the Gladiators, plus 226. If you're feeling like last week wasn't just a hoax and that these bottom tier teams really can figure it out in 1 week and that game planning is really more important, then maybe Dallas pulled off. I mean, that's a team that I guess you could look at, but generally I would agree with you. I don't think it's worth looking at them at all. You're not going to get much money out of picking against them right now either. If you're just looking to throw down some money and get potentially theoretically free money, I guess. Betting against Dallas is a pretty good place to look at.
For more heavily contended matches, especially, again, we probably should focus more on the first 2 days because that's the only lines that are up currently. That game against, I would keep identifying, like I said, consistent teams that are performing along their same line. I would say that Boston is another team, like I said, and they're playing the Justice, who have been a bad team all season, but have Corey, who is... His game against the Titans was about as hard carry of a performance as you could have. He absolutely went off in that game. Not that the rest of the team was necessarily bad, but Corey was just really, really good.
I think him and Stratus absolutely made the dynamic duo for that game. Stratus was making some pretty big plays, but Corey was... I mean, if there was a head within anywhere on his screen, even within a pixel,
it was nuts.
See ya.
So... I don't know. The question, of course, then becomes: will he do it every week? Can he do it again? Those are important questions, I think. But even if he doesn't play quite that well, I still think the Justice are going to beat the Uprising. So again, the odds are closer on that one, but I still think that's a fairly safe. If I were to say like a point B, like a semi-close match in the first 2 days, that would be the one I would point to.
Yeah, I think that's pretty safe. Other than that, I think San Francisco at minus 185 is really safe. I do think that you could see some good money coming from that one. I just think that there's enough of a track record. We've seen that the Shock may actually be meta-proof, which is what everybody kind of theorized for the longest time, which is great for them, right? And it's not that Shanghai's bad by any stretch. I think that they're a pretty good team. I just think the Shock are still better for right now, and I do think that that's a pretty safe bet. But that's really about it from the ones that are offered right now. I mean, it is pretty crazy how little there is to really consider being safe this week in those first couple games. I think the second 2 days gets a little easier. Um, I think London over Houston is another pretty easy map to call. For right now, I mean,
Yeah,
London could
with
look like
London,
absolute
yeah,
garbage,
yeah,
but I think they're more of just kind of like one of those 50-50 teams that are. It really just depends on the day for them. I don't
yeah.
think that they're a bad team at
No,
all. I
definitely
actually think
not.
they're really, really good, and I don't think that Florida is better than them. I think Florida caught them off guard and caught them on a bad day, and that combines to a 4-0. Like
It's
that.
fair.
That's just what it comes down to.
Yeah,
But if we look, ahead to the next 2 days, again, I think London's pretty safe over Houston. I think, especially Sunday, I think the Titans are pretty safe against the Fusion, the Justice, and the Outlaws, and then San Francisco over the Fuel. I think that those three games are relatively safe. As safe as they can be. We'll see what
yeah,
the odds are, and by the way, if any of those three teams, especially like are an underdog that we just named, put your money on them like
yeah.
right away.
That's fair.
Um, you know, but
Yeah,
yeah, I mean those are my point A's and B's, I guess, if we
yeah.
wanted to look at it.
And that's the point I was going to make. Basically, is there aren't really any point C like what we would consider really great upsets because the teams that are at the bottom have been elevated to this like weird middle
Yeah,
tier position. Like when we did power rankings this week, it's hard not to rank the Justice in the top 7-10. I think that's about as high as you can make a case for them right now. But they're undefeated in the stage.
we may or may not have put them a little bit higher,
And that's
which
fair.
that'll be
I
coming
think
out
I think
after this episode.
I think you can make a case for it. I think like I've seen different analysts have them in their top three. Um, it's still early, and if you're doing power for the current week, like basically going down who if you played each game 1,000 times, who would win more of them? That's kind of who you put higher than the other team. And with
Yeah,
the Justice right now, they are going to be higher than a lot of teams, so it makes sense. But all this to say, there aren't a lot of teams at the bottom anymore with reasonable chances to upset. Um, the only one I could see would be Saturday, depending on where they put the lines. Excuse me, for the Florida Valiant game.
mm-hmm. That's what I was
If
gonna do.
Florida are a significant underdog, bet on them. I mean, the Valiant have looked shaky and are not as good of a team lately as I think they could be. Like they're also very desperate though. Like they have to basically win out to make playoffs. So Florida's not that desperate. So maybe Valiant comes out and outplays them. But with the way Florida played last week, they actually played a good game against London. You just never know. Um, but if I had to give an upset, that would probably be the one. I don't see any other game that would be upset. I mean, unless again, I guess Defiant Seoul could be another one. Like Defiant beat Shanghai last week. Seoul's looked kind of weak. If they put Defiant as big underdogs, maybe them, but still.
I think there's still a couple. I think Houston over London. Like, I know I said London probably win that game, but that's more just because of my theory of 50-50. I
Yeah,
think Houston still has plenty of potential to be a good team, and they're not totally out of the playoffs. They are actually on life support,
yeah. I mean, it
right?
would be like 8 different things that have to happen for them to get in. But yeah,
Yeah, I think there's like I think I saw something from Captain
yeah,
Planet
it's
that
been
was
slow.
like he's got like a five. They've got like a 5% chance to make it in,
Yeah,
which they'd have to win out plus have like I think Chengdu and
Chengdu and
lose
Valiant
two
would
or
basically have
three.
to lose out. Yeah,
Yeah, so which I mean isn't totally out of the question,
yeah,
but it's not likely.
right.
And then I could also see Philly beating the Titans. I don't think that's likely,
Yeah,
but if I'm going for a point C and they're at plus 300, that's a pretty good C bet
yeah,
because if the Fusion ever figure out why they can't be coordinated, which I cannot believe, I am still baffled that it has taken them a full season. Like
yeah,
they're going to be one of the first teams out in the playoffs, I think. But
yeah.
um, if I'm you and you see a nice line there for the Fusion against the Titans, then I would absolutely consider taking Philly there. Just because it could be a
Yeah,
quick way to make a quick buck.
yeah.
So
So yeah, we're gonna probably go ahead and shift on to fantasy at this point. But with betting this week, just like we said, bank on consistent teams. Look for trends as much as you can, and just try and exploit like we try and do each week, we're trying to exploit the odds and get the things that are most favorable that are marked at the most favorable line. So that's all what we're always trying to do. But just keep an eye out for those. If you see any games, always tweet them at us and at BetDSI as well if you want. But yeah, let's go ahead and talk about our draft buff lineup. So we are actually two of the top three finishers. The other one being Sam from the Game House in last week's fantasy. So I barely beat him by like 60 points. And then Rob was in third after that. So whatever we're doing on the show is working. And so trust us. We have the authority.
I mean, Sam, I'm pretty sure watches this show.
He must if he's doing well. I mean, there's no other way to succeed.
Clearly, he did not have any influence on our lineups this week.
Yeah.
So,
and let's look at our lineups. Directly influenced from Sam. So, pretty funny. Both of us have Gargoyle this week. Interesting. Wonder who had Gargoyle last week that had success with him.
No correlation whatsoever, sir.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and go through our lineups first. I'll start with mine. So I actually, until right before the episode, had Stratus in my lineup as well. I had him last week. He had like 220 points, which is pretty middle, above average, especially for $4. And I actually had I had what Rob currently has as on his team as my DPS until like 10 minutes before we.
I didn't realize that it was that close.
I had Corey and Stratus, so I last minute decided to scale down. I also had Mangachu last week, and he was big money for me. He had like 250, I think. So I went for him and Taimu. Rob brought up that Taimu is going to be playing both games for Dallas, so I figured at $3 for a guy who's going to play 2 games, it's going to be fine. Which allowed me to go ham for my bottom 3 players. So Gargoyle, like I said, is an easy $3 pick. Sam, I think, showed us that, and I think it's very true. He goes off. He's the best player in Florida right now besides Saya, and he's $3, so might as well. After that, Hotba, Shu, and Neko. So Hotba is insane on Roadhog. Is playing a ton for the charge right now and gets insane amount of kills on Roadhog. Roadhog's like one of his key kind of classic heroes, so I felt like it was worth it at 7 for him. And then Shu and Neko are both top flex support players for their teams, so we're seeing a lot of Ana, but that still gets you so many more points than Lucio's get. We're just main support players in general right now, so as you can see, we both went for 2 of those on each of our teams, but Shu and Neko are both, I think the Charge are among the teams that have kind of leveled out as far as their consistency goes. And I think they're consistently 7 to 10, maybe a little higher, but I felt comfortable with the fact that they're not going to just blow up one week. I think they're kind of on a track, and I think both their games this week are either going to be really close, which could mean more maps, or they will win convincingly. So I felt pretty comfortable about it.
Yeah, I think your lineup's crap.
All right, dude. Let's. Who beat the other person by 200 points last week?
We took different approaches, and I learned from your approach, and I liked it. I thought it was good. I even said it. I would give you credit should you beat me with that approach, and you deserve it.
Well,
but I think your Taimu pick is still bold, my friend.
Oh, I think it is as well.
And the thing is while you are getting great value, I don't understand Shu here.
Really?
Not for that much.
Interesting.
Not for that much when there are other people I think available at the same time. Like you could have picked Violet, you could have picked Jonak.
Yeah.
Right?
Jonak was really bad last week points wise.
Yeah, but like you got to play the matchups, and I don't love the matchups for Guangzhou. He's going to be going up against Jonak, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he's going to be going up against my boy Ryu Jaehong. So, here's what I'm going to say. I mostly just, talking trash here, messing with you.
Yeah.
I will say I think you have a lot more confidence in teams like Toronto and Guangzhou to get you points. Let me check this to make sure before I say something really dumb. I don't think you have a single player. I can correct me. Yeah, you don't have a single player on your team that's playing for a team that has at least a 500 or above record
For the season, correct.
for the
But
season. Yes.
but stages 1 through 3 do not matter at all to me currently.
No,
It's all about
and I
stage
get
4.
that, and I get that. I do. But
Mhm.
you're also picking the Defiant, who are 1-3. Guangzhou, who's 3-1.
Mhm.
It makes sense. And then Dallas, who's 0-2 and will be 0-4 by the end of the week, right?
Right, right.
So you're picking teams outside of Guangzhou who are losers. They lose games, right?
Right.
Whereas my team, outside of one player, is full of winners.
I guess. I don't know about that.
The Shock and the Justice make up the majority of my teams.
Yeah.
And not only will they both win, probably both of their games, but they're going to go off. And we already saw what Corey and Stratus can do against really good teams. What are they going to do?
A really good team. And let's tap the brakes on Washington a little bit, but keep going.
Here's my point. Washington as a team may not be great, but Corey and Stratus are, right?
Yeah.
And they're going to put up a crap ton of points. It doesn't even matter. What they showed last week to me is that it doesn't matter right now if teams prepare for them. They're just playing on another level.
Yeah.
Like, you poked your head around. Oh, you're dead, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you thought that you were going to get this point.
Oh, you thought.
Here's a Maywall, right? Like,
yeah.
I think that they are playing at another level, and Washington specifically plays Houston and Boston this week, dude. Houston's their best opponent this week, and that's not saying a lot.
Yeah.
So I think those two are going to put up an insane amount of points. Gargoyle's obviously a big brain pick. Thank you, Sam.
Yes.
In all seriousness.
Yes.
I think Choi Ho-bin has done enough and plays on the Shock where they're going to be playing, again, Shanghai and Dallas, right? And then same with Violet. And then I can survive with Seoul playing Toronto and Guangzhou this week. So I think I'm playing more matchup favored than potentially player favored, which I think is interesting.
Yeah,
and I wanted to get your thought as to, I guess, with the trash talking ending.
Yeah, sure.
Right. Like what is that? What is that? Because we have two very different philosophies this week.
Totally.
So why are you going with player over matchup?
So I don't know that it's necessarily that straight up for me. I think what I've started doing, I did the same thing last week, is I invested a lot in flex support. That's like where I think the money is most valuably spent there. Because like for example last week, so Mangachu scored 261, Stratus scored 222, and Corey scored 290. So between Mangachu and Corey is only 30 points, which isn't that much, and he's just like so much cheaper. And so for DPS, I feel like there's just not a lot of like difference between them. Like they're all so hardcore carry on their teams right now because of just the way the meta is that you're going to get a lot of points out of them, I think. Even in a loss. So I think I went for teams that I don't think are going to get just shut down. Like players on teams I don't think are going to get destroyed. Like Guangzhou Seoul is going to be a good game. I think Seoul's really bad, which is why I picked Guangzhou players. But I mean, I think that's still going to be a close game. Guangzhou is not amazing either. And then like, I think the Dallas like Taimu pick, like he's in some hot water. But at $3, like I just went for it. I mean, I think it's valuable at $3. But I think with the other picks, like again, Toronto plays Seoul. Another I think could be close game. Toronto also plays Florida. Guangzhou plays New York. Like I think those are all games that are super close and could go to a map 5. If a game goes to a map 5, or both games go to a map 5 for a team, that's so many more points for the player. Like clearly you get more points if you're just playing more maps. And so I think that's a lot of my philosophy behind it. The other is just like I don't know that picking from good teams is super safe right now because like who's to say the Shock aren't just going to come out and not try? Like London clearly did. New York clearly has been. So I just
But
don't.
is that clear
I
with New
think
York?
yes. I mean, they put Flower in on Sombra. It took him 3 minutes to get an EMP. It was bad. Like, they're just trying stuff. I don't think they're throwing. I think they're just experimenting. And so, like, your picks, to trash talk a little bit back, Washington, sure, they're playing well, and they played their hearts out to beat Vancouver, but this is the same way everyone played New York last season. You want to play to beat the best team, so you're going to try your hardest against the best team anytime you play them. I don't know that Washington has anything to play for anymore. Like, they're not making the playoffs. Corey's really good, but like I think they put all their eggs in the Vancouver basket, and they'll go back to just being okay after that. And then the Shock, like they've solidified basically their playoff position, so they might throw Striker in this week. Like they could,
Yeah, but that's why I didn't pick a DPS.
but I think the Shock will get beat if they do that. Like their players won't play well numbers wise, versus like Toronto and Guangzhou are clawing for playoff spot. Like, Toronto's probably out, but they're still, like, mathematically, it's possible, I think.
No, Toronto's already been eliminated.
Okay, then never mind with them. But, like, Guangzhou, I think those guys are going to be desperately trying to win these two games. If they lose both, like, they're probably out of the playoffs. Like, they very easily could be. So, I just see a lot more to play for those guys than with, like, Shock players, for example.
Well, let me throw a little bit back at you. Have
Okay.
you been paying attention, bro? Washington's 3-0. They could have a perfect end of the season.
They could.
And if we know our boy Grant as well as we do you think he's gonna go over to them and be like, "Hey, just take it easy"? No, he's gonna tell them, "You're playing for your spot on this team next year, so you better come out and kick some ass." Because I will dump you at
Grant's in Washington.
out of bat.
The coach.
That's what I'm talking about.
I mean, he might not have any say over that, but
Baloney.
I mean,
He's the head of the whole thing right now. They don't even have a general manager. You know just as well as I am. He is running this train right now, dude, and he is not going to let them screw around. And also, in all seriousness, again, Washington are 3-0. They're 10-3. They can really make an impression by going 7-0. Like, that would, everybody be like, oh, okay. And, like, think about it, dude. You want free agents to come to your team, right? Like, this is just like any other team. If they just shit the bed by the end of the season and they lose their last 4 games, nobody's going to want to go play for the Justice. But if they can finish at 7-0 and they're like, hey, this is 2-2-2, we're here. We got 2 of potentially the best DPS in the league right now. That's a lot easier to convince somebody to come over.
Yeah.
Because people forget this. Everybody's contracts end at the end of the year. Almost everybody's,
yeah,
right?
all the season 1 people. Yeah.
So the free agency is going to be absolutely crazy. Like, our off-season free agent stuff is going to be a blast. You'll want to keep at the game outs because we are going to have so much to talk about with free agency. But yeah, I mean, Washington's going to look at that, right? Like, they're going to take some chance. Like they want to finish well. I can't honestly tell you with San Francisco. I don't think you're wrong necessarily, but I do think that they're still playing for seeding. Because they're definitely playing for seeding. I mean, should Vancouver lose at least 3 more games, which is unlikely, but should they, San Francisco have a chance at the 1 seed.
Yeah.
And winning a Pacific title.
Yeah, but
again, I'm stretching there, but it is a possibility. I'm not stretching on the Washington Justice.
Here's my deal on Washington. Look at Washington's games they've won in stage 4. So they've beat. In the standings, they've beat the 2 teams next to them, the 18th and the 20th seed, and they beat the Titans. So, again, I think this still applies. What I was saying is that Washington or Vancouver have a big target on their back, where anyone who plays them is going to give them their best. Washington, I think, clearly did that. Like, they went out there wanting to win, thinking they could win, and they gave their all. And, like, they beat the Titans as an amazing, triumphant thing. But that was also after going to Game 5 against Florida and barely beating the Defiant in Week 1. And so I know people are excited about Washington. Like, I think there's a lot to be excited about for the team next year and with their DPS line. But I just don't think that they're like as good after 1 week as people may be giving them credit for.
Let me make this last argument from my side. This is the last one, okay? You're not wrong. The teams they've played are crap. Okay? But here's the rest of their schedule for the year, right? Boston, Houston, both very winnable games.
Right.
Am I wrong?
No, definitely winnable.
Then Atlanta.
Loss.
Hardcore
loss.
And the Paris Eternal to end it out.
Yeah. So they could go 6-1 pretty easily.
But what I'm saying is that they're gonna play for 7-0. They see this schedule and they're like, okay, there's a 7-0 possibility. If they could beat the Titans, why can't they beat Atlanta?
No, it's true. I think they can, I guess, but I just don't think they will with Atlanta.
I don't think they will either.
Atlanta's a lot more to play for than Vancouver
Atlanta's playing on another level right now. They're going to be scary as crap going into the
playoffs. Yeah,
They're going to be terrifying.
Yeah.
That said, I'm telling you right now, I'm telling everybody out there, putting your money on Washington is not a bad bet. That's my case.
I wouldn't be as quick, dude. But this will be interesting to watch this week. This is definitely, it'll be an ongoing discussion.
When they go 0-2, I apologize to Grant and all of our other Washington people that we know. I did not jinx you, probably.
But yeah, so I mean, definitely keep an eye on the fantasy lineups this week. If you haven't already made your team, go to Draft Buff and make one. Looks like it'll be an interesting week. I mean, there's a lot of different philosophies to take, a lot of different teams. As long as you're playing a player who plays 2 games and doesn't just absolutely have a terrible game, you should be okay. So, but I think we are actually out of time this week. We've already gone to it's 4:00 here, so I think that means we're out.
I think we just have time for our
prop bets. Yeah, that's right.
I'm trying to figure out, what did we do last week?
I don't know what I did. It was something about I don't remember. It was something about lower tier teams winning. So I think we were right about it.
I think we did pick. I think I picked Florida again to do something.
It was something about Florida and Washington winning. I don't remember what it was. We're geniuses, though. Is all I know. We need to go back and look at that.
I'm fill it for 30 seconds here. I'm watching.
Okay. So I'll come up with mine this week. Then in the meantime. So I think that after this week, we will know 100% who the playoff teams are going to be. I think we will know. I think every single spot will be locked after this week. Beyond the shadow, beyond maybe not statistically, but realistically, everything will be locked up. So I think go ahead.
Oh no! I was gonna say I'd like to go back to our Watch House episode and see what we picked. What we predicted, because I think we're going to be pretty close. Except I think we all picked the Valiant and the Outlaws to go in, and I think we missed on Atlanta.
Yeah, we did. I think Atlanta was one we missed on. I think that. I think that's otherwise. You're right, though. I think the biggest debate between all of us was between Valiant
and Chengdu.
Well, it was Valiant and Chengdu. I thought
it was Guangzhou and Chengdu, because I think they had the exact same record coming into the stage.
It could be. But all that to say, I actually think that Florida is going to beat the Valiant, and I think that Chengdu is going to win against the Spark. I think that the Charge are going to possibly beat New York. That's a really close game. But I think if the Valiant lose to the Mayhem, which I think is going to happen, I think that the Valiant will be out. And then if the Charge win both games and the Hunters win, that will basically do it. That'll all but solidify it. I mean, unless Dallas goes 2-0, that would do it. Yeah.
Dallas just surprises the world and was like, actually, we were just waiting for time to do anything. Yeah. So
basically,
they still have a chance to make it.
Yeah.
They'd have to win out.
Basically, the playoff games to watch are any game with the Charge, Hunters, and Valiant in it. So, my predictions
the range.
that will know. Yeah.
Technically.
I guess.
Okay, so mine is, I think that the Gladiators are actually going to go out there with their Big Goose jerseys on.
Ooh, I like that.
I think they actually did a change. I think that they joked about it, but then it got so much traction that they were like, all right, screw it.
That would be amazing.
We're already in the playoffs. Let's just do it.
That would be amazing. Not going to lie.
I would love that. That would make my literal day. I would be so hyped if that happened.
Yeah.
But
Dang. All right. Well, interesting stuff for sure. Be sure to keep it locked here. We've got another show coming up. Our Watch House preview show. LCS Weekly's coming up later. Then we'll have Overwatch League action. So lots of stuff good into the weekend. I'm actually headed out on vacation tonight. So
I go tomorrow.
We're both of us. Yeah, both of us are going to be gone. We'll be back. I think we might be off next week actually because of that. But
unless I can find a co-host.
Hey. But yeah, so we'll be around generally, but yeah. Definitely a lot of exciting games to watch this weekend. We wish you the best of luck in betting. Yeah, Rob, thanks as always for being on as the co-host, and we'll see you guys later, some point.